What's in a name? That which we call a hurricane or a cyclone or a typhoon would be just as devastating because it doesn't matter what you call it. They're all basically the same thing. So why do we have three words to describe exactly the same kind of weather system? Well, that's where it gets interesting. While hurricanes, cyclones and typhoons are all essentially the same thing, their geography isn't, and where they start determines what kind of storm you have to survive. Firstly, call it what you like, but they all come with heavy rains, winds in excess of over 119 kilometers per hour, that's 74 miles per hour, storm surges, and of course, they all have an eye. So what's the difference? Well, that depends on their origin. Hurricanes start in the North Atlantic Ocean and the Northeast Pacific, so they affect the east coast of the United States and the Caribbean. Typhoons, on the other hand, occur in the Northwestern Pacific Ocean, so they tend to make landfall in the Philippines and in Japan. And cyclones occur mainly in the South Pacific and Indian Oceans, so they affect countries all the way from Australia to Mozambique. So why does geography mean we have three different names for the same kind of weather? Well, because of etymology, and English never misses a chance to make things complicated. The term hurricane can be traced to the indigenous Taino people that lived in the Caribbean and Florida, where hurricanes make landfall. Hurrican was the Caribbean god of evil, and further down the coast, Huracan was the Mayan god of wind, storm and fire. Well, in the 1500s, Spanish explorers learnt these two words after their ships managed to survive these awful storms and finally make it to the Caribbean and American shores. And of course, they started to apply it to these bad weather systems, calling them hurricanes. And of course, when English heard it, it had to change it just a little before adopting it as the modern hurricane. Typhoon is a little harder to trace. Some say it comes from the Greek word typhon, which was a dangerous mythological monster with the powers of the wind. Others say it comes from the Persian word typhoon, which means roar or blow furiously. But Portuguese sailors brought back many similar words from their adventures in Urdu, Hindu, Arabic, and even Chinese and Japanese. Basically, sometime in the late 1580s, these words all came together in a big swirling mess and came out the other end as typhoon. And English liked it, so it kept it. And that just leaves cyclone, which is actually the newest word. It was taken straight from the ancient Greek kyklou, which means to go around in circles, or kyklos, a circle or a wheel. However, cyclone wasn't used as a weather term until 1840, when it was coined by Henry Piddington, an official in the East Indian Company, who also studied meteorology. It was customary at the time to name things in Greek or Latin, so when he observed these giant spinning storms, what better name could there be than cyclone? English liked this word too, so it kept it again. And since cyclone was originally categorized by a circular motion, the term was also used to describe any system that followed that pattern, from tornadoes to whirlpools. You know, just to make things confusing. And so English kept all three names from three different areas, even though they all describe the same kind of weather. But whatever you call it, these tropical storms can annihilate coastal areas and cause massive amounts of damage and loss of life. So maybe if you see a giant spinning storm heading your way on the weather map, instead of worrying about what to call it, just run for the hills.